So thank you all for coming out. Really just want to read a brief prepared statement and turn over to Chair Avant. Also have board members Love, Bibbs, and McCormick here. I appreciate them being here. And then we'll take questions afterwards. So let me say, for the past 6 years, we have had quite a remarkable journey. Our board members, educators, and community supporters have helped us guide this great school district through monumental changes. Changes such as a merger, a demerger, school closures, and state takeover of some of our schools. Through it all, we have remained committed to aggressively improving student achievement. We have accomplished a great deal together, such as eliminating a $100 million deficit, investing more in students, and developing the Summer Learning Academy to prevent summer learning loss. That, in part, is what makes this decision so very difficult. I would love to see this work to the finish line, but I feel confident that we have laid a strong foundation for the next leader of the Shelby County Schools. Therefore, today, I resign from my post as superintendent effective January 8th, 2019. I will be joining Cigna in their government and education business sector practice in a newly created national role to help them grow their business in that sector. For the past 6 years, this has been rewarding but very, very strenuous work, and at times it has taken a huge toll on my family. I look forward to my new role as top parent and district cheerleader. By no means is this the same district that I took the helm of 6 years ago. There's plenty of work to do, but I'm very proud of the progress that we've made together. With that, I want to turn it over to Ms. Avant.
Good afternoon. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge board members that are present, Board Member Love, Board Member Bibbs, and Board Member McCormick. Thank you all for coming out today. It has been rumored for a while that Superintendent Hobson may be leaving, but like you, hearing the news is difficult. As board chair, Superintendent made me personally aware this weekend, and he submitted his letter of resignation to the board this morning. I've had the pleasure of working with Superintendent Hobson as a board member for the past 5 years, and have grown increasingly proud of his leadership. He's worked closely with this board to carry out our vision for an I-zone, an E-zone, better fiscal management, the creation of Superintendent's Learning Academy, and the development of an academic plan that will effectively carry our district into the future. No, Superintendent and his team have not always gotten it right, but we've appreciated and acknowledged errors and transparency in the repair process. I think it has made us stronger as a district. Regarding next steps, the superintendent will continue through January 8th, and prior to his departure, we will identify an interim to determine a process for naming a permanent successor that will continue to carry out the vision set forth by this board. We are tentatively planning to announce an interim before the winter break, and we ask that the media refrain from sharing any rumored names before that date. Again, we will not officially name someone before the winter break so that our district staff, administrators, teachers, parents, and the community are aware that business will continue in the best interest of our children. We will work with Superintendent Hodson and the interim leader to ensure a smooth transition, with the success of Shelby County students remaining our top priority. Rest assured that this board is thoughtful, it is intentional, and it is committed to the well-being of our children. Superintendent, as a parent of an SCS student, thank you so much for the work you've given to this district. I think we'll now take questions.
Questions? Yeah.
Hobson, can you give us an idea of the timeline that you have been kind of working with in order to make this decision? When did everything become finalized with Cigna?
Well, so I mean, every year around this time, I think about the future. And so, you know, the reality is that for urban superintendent, the average timeline is about 3.5 to 4 years. I've been doing it for 6. So I know last year I thought deeply about what was next. Didn't feel like the timing was right last year. I know we were going through, we really wanted to really focus on what was going on in Tresman at that point in time. So I didn't want to leave while that was going on. So, you know, I've been thinking about this though for a while. As I said in my statement, being a superintendent is hard. It takes a lot out of you personally. It takes a lot out of your family. I've got two small kids and 1 kid in college, and you know, just very quickly, I thought about it. My sophomore, who's in Chapel Hill, when I started this role, was an 8th grader at Snowden, and I missed a lot of practice times. I missed a lot of cheerleading things. And I've got a middle schooler now, and an elementary school child now, so I want to make sure I'm able to give them more time. So the process has been ongoing, but I really made the decision here recently, and then just try to get it finalized. Wanted to share with the board, wanted to share with my team, share with principals, and we were able to do that. But I'm just really incredibly proud of the work that we've done together. You know, for people who are around, I know this stuff changes. I see Mr. Prezia, she's been around. When we merged in 2013, I mean, the question was, is school going to even open? We went from $100 million structural deficits to 2 years worth of surpluses. We went from laying off 2,000 people to giving people a living wage, from closing schools to building new schools in inner city Memphis. And I think that you know, that a lot of heartache was there. Now, we've also had a lot of challenges. You know, our student outcomes aren't nearly where we want them to be. But I know we've got a lot of great teachers, a lot of great school leaders who are working very hard to improve every day. So, I mean, I can walk away knowing that this district is in much better shape than it was when I started, but also knowing we've got a long way to go. We've got great board members, we've got a great leadership team, so I think that Ms. Avent talked about successor. I know that what they'll do is they'll focus on things that are essentials towards student achievement. So I feel great about leaving, and feel great about the path ahead.
Kind of piggybacking off that, what do you see as your biggest accomplishment and something that you wish you could have accomplished?
I mean, you know, when you think about 6 years, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, you know, one specific thing, but I am very proud of, I guess, a couple things stand out. Just the financial footing that we're going to leave the district in is huge. I mean, I think that the board's done great work around planning and being smart with investments and making really hard decisions. I think about, you know, closing schools and doing some of the layoffs and things to kind of till the land, as it were. But now we start to see the fruit, right? Now we start to we're able to now invest in schools. So I think the way that we've handled the district financially, I think the graduation rate has gone up about 12 points since I've been doing this. I think that's something I'm proud of. And probably one of the things I'd highlight too would be the accomplishments of the I-Zone. You know, there was a point in time where the plan was to take over all the schools in Memphis. And the ASD was going to be a big part of that. But now, through a lot of hard work in the I-Zone, what we saw was that we've created a national model for turnaround schools, and that's something that that makes me happy, because what we're doing is it's really an equity strategy. Like, you have schools and communities and neighborhoods that have been neglected for a long point in time, and then we start to invest in those schools, and I think you start to see fruit there. So that, and I would probably add to just the work around some of our facilities and building new schools in some of these inner city communities, because when you talk about old and decaying neighborhoods and just year after year of neglect, you know, we know that learning environments matter. So, you know, I'm sure you guys have been out to Collierville, you know, great high school out there. John Akin and those guys, so proud of the work they're doing, but you can go 30 miles, you know, west, and the roofs are falling in, the floors are falling apart. So we know that learning environments matter, and I'm glad that our board has decided to be very aggressive about rebuilding schools in inner city Memphis. So those would be just a few of them.
What do you think your biggest challenge is going to be for your successor?
I think the biggest challenge, I think, for any urban school superintendent is figuring out how to have the best sustainable strategies in the face of some of the suffocating poverty that we have in Shelby County. If you spend time in any school, you know, the overwhelming majority of our school leaders are working their behinds off. The teachers are doing a great job, are doing the best they can. But kids in poverty just have so many hurdles that I think people just don't think about. You know, it's hard to focus on your ELA or your Eureka Math if you hadn't eaten in a day and a half, or if you've got to be, you know, the surrogate mom or father to your young brother or sister, or if you're running away from gang members. So I think that poverty is never an excuse, but, you know, you have to consistently be thinking about yeah, we got great teaching and learning strategies, but what are the social and emotional supports that we put in place? How are we addressing kids and meeting them where they are? So I just think that the whole poverty problem, that's a Memphis problem, trickles down in our schools. And I think that, you know, despite people's best efforts, sometimes you're always asked to do things that are influenced by factors that are not within your control.
What's your message to the parents who may have concerns about the future of SCS?
I think we are 901. I am very, very bullish on Shelby County schools. I have 2 kids who go to the Shelby County schools. They will remain in the Shelby County schools. And I know that for all of the negative headlines that we see, there's great teaching and learning going on in the Shelby County schools. There are great teachers and great school leaders in the Shelby County schools. There's a lot of positive things happening here. So I think that at the end of the day, you know, I'm proud of the fact that like our enrollment is increasing now. I think people are beginning to see some of the positive things that are happening here. I'll continue to be a Shelby County supporter as dad in chief, and look forward to being a part of the Shelby County Schools family from the outside.
Have you currently been contracting with Cigna, and have you worked with them in the past?
In terms of?
In terms of you working with Cigna,
No.
have you worked for them
No.
before, contracted with them
No.
before?
No.
Is the new role based here?
Yeah,
Or-
be here.
So you'll
Yeah.
be here in Memphis still?
Yeah. And I'm not going to work for Billy as a commissioner of education. I know there's been a lot of calls, a lot of speculation around that, and I'll just put that out there. I think that I consider Billy to be a good friend. I think he's a great man. I think he's going to be an outstanding governor. But I'm not going to work as commissioner of education. Has been reported a few times.
Would
Yeah.
you recommend that a nationwide search be done?
Well, I think that that's certainly up to the board. You know, I've been in many roles here, and you know, as legal counsel and as superintendent, and I think that the board's going to have a lot of decisions to make. You know, and I've talked to several board members, and you know, from my humble opinion, I just think that whoever they select, particularly in an interim role, has to be somebody that they can work with, you know, and understands the way the board works, and somebody that can work with the county commission. You know, we got a new county commission now, and we're about to be in funding season. I think most importantly, from an interim perspective, somebody who can reassure the people doing the teaching and learning every day that things are going to be okay. And however they get to that point, you know, I'll be here to support them and be here as a listening ear and an advisor.
Could you talk more about the equity piece that you talked about before, just why that was important for you, especially given that you grew up here and you went to Whitehaven High, and why you made equity such a cornerstone of your time here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, you have large sectors, Jen, of our population who have either been forgotten or neglected for a long time. And I think that when you're running a race, you know, you can't expect for the race to be fair if there are barriers that you don't account for. And so when you see some of the low test scores in some of the priority schools, it's no surprise that they're all like in some of the tough neighborhoods. You know, so I think that what you have to do is you have to give people the tools that they need, you know, in order to be successful. Doesn't mean a handout. It doesn't mean you're giving people special treatment, but you have to look at the circumstances. If we're all trying to get to the same finish line, you have to account for some of those things that may be beyond their control. So I know for a fact that, you know, dollars are not the only you know, thing that's going to help student achievement, but they certainly help. So I think that I applaud the board for how smart they've been and how thoughtful they've been around the area of making sure that kids who need it the most get the most, while also making sure kids who may not necessarily need as much still have what they need. So, and I think that's really what equity is about. It's just not equality, you know, it's equity. And when you have so many needs like we have here in Memphis and Shelby County, you know, I think it's the responsible thing for leaders to make sure that they are distributing the resources that they have in an equitable manner, or a manner that's going to make the most impact.
Are you going to join a PTA?
I am. I'm already part of PTA. MSSA.
No.
Yeah. Do you? I'm going to ask Ms. Avent if Ms. Avent wants to. She may want to ask. Yeah.
Not all of you at once.
I have a question just regarding the superintendent's contract. My understanding was that it was re-upped and it was up until 2020. How does that end up working out with him leaving earlier than that?
Yes, so he's resigned from his position, and
Okay.
so that ends currently the contract with his resignation.
Okay, so nothing else needs to be done other than that resignation?
That's correct.
Okay, and you received that resignation letter this morning?
We did.
Okay. I don't know if you mentioned this before, was that something that you had been expecting? Did it catch you off guard?
Well, he informed me this weekend, and I think he's had some personal conversations with board members to make sure that they were aware. Again, to his collaborative nature, he wanted to make sure that he had an opportunity to speak with each board member. He's had 9 bosses for the last 4 or 6 years, and so making sure that everyone understood where he was in his position. We wish him the best. He's been a great leader for this school district, but I think we have in capable hands board members who are going to be very thoughtful and intentional about the process of choosing an interim and then a successor.
Thank you. And just to be clear on that contract, will anything have to be paid out, or is it just?
No, nothing has to be paid out.
Okay, and I know you talked about, future picks, whatever. Is there anyone in the pipeline, really?
There isn't. So you only have 4 board members present. This has to be a decision of the whole. Board members will have time, will take some time next week to actually meet together in executive session to discuss options for an interim and then how we want to move forward in the process of choosing a successor. But that is a decision that has to be made by the body.
In terms of
Why an
the
executive session?
Yeah, well, oftentimes these things can be leaked to the press, and I think sometimes it's better for board members to have the opportunity, especially as we're thinking about a contract. When anything that has to deal with any legal issues is oftentimes better for the board to have that in private session.
In terms of the deputy superintendent, will he essentially be acting in the superintendent's capacity until the interim is then
No, so
announced?
the superintendent's official last day is January 8th, and so he will still be acting as in capacity of as superintendent until that time. Board members will again have an opportunity to discuss who they'd like as interim and then what process we'd like to go have moving forward in order to choose a successor. Okay, well, seeing no other questions, thank you so much for your time.